power of this technology goes so far beyond what like the typical like table conversation about VR gives it credit for. You know, like we talk about it as like a useful tool or an immersive, fun experience, but what we're talking about is like truly transformational.
It should be perfectly possible to trick your brain into any experience if your brain can already do that itself naturally. So VR is almost like taking that ability for our brain to generate any experience for us and like putting it in our hands, which is wild.
Man, that's something in the history books. People are going to look back and be like, yeah, 2022, 2023. That's when education, after hundreds of years, finally upgraded.
We're in a strange time where our physical worlds are intersecting with our digital identities, and right now is a time to kind of determine what you want that to be.
Once you have full body tracking that works well and it's frictionless, right? Meaning it's easy to do.
Yes.
It's a whole new. It's not a game changer, it's a whole new game.
So maybe there will be some other people who would be curious to see what I'm learning, what I'm discovering, so to say. And that's how the Discover YouTube channel started.
Oh, not really disco VR, Discover.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel bad when people ask me about VR, or they're like, what do you do? Like, all right.
Yeah.
You asked, here it comes.
I love VR, but I love going out and breathing fresh air. And not only was I stuck in VR for 10 days, I was stuck in one room because I was streaming, the same space. I didn't see the sunlight. I totally lost track of what time everything was.
She dances with the robot. She does the first steps. She dances with that robot. She takes that thing off her fist. I have the video. I'm holding it hostage. She takes it off her head and she says, I gotta have it.
There are a few moments in my life I can remember very vividly. The day I got married, the day my kids were born, the day Facebook announced that they bought Oculus is one of those days. I was making chili.
I've been in a lot of gaming communities, and the VR community is by far the best community that I've ever been involved with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. It's your favorite podcast, and ours too. And you know what? That's okay. I think you should be proud of that fact. We're proud of the show that we're doing here, and we're our own biggest fans. We've said that before. And we thank you for joining us. And we're just being cheeky, all right? Okay, I know there's good podcasts and stuff out there, okay? It's all right. Just let me say my thing. Thanks for joining us. My name's Alex. I am one half of the Between Realities crew. There's two of us. The other half is sitting right here next to me. It's Skiva.
Hey, man.
What's up, brother?
How's it going?
Great.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel
Very
like
cool.
things are good.
Yeah.
Vibes have been good lately.
Yeah.
Fun stuff happening in the VR space.
Yes.
Things could be worse.
Yeah, for the most part, things are good. Today has been a little annoying. But, because I...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because there's an Apple headset coming out, and because of that, I wanted to make sure that I got like the most out of this when it comes out. So I started a long time ago off on iPhones, and then eventually when things got to the point where I was like, I can't, like the tech over on Android is now better. There's like, I want to be able to control my default apps, blah, 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 blah. I switched over, and I've been over on Android for 10 years. And today I got the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and so far it's kind of been hell. It's been so weird. I'll spend like 2 hours setting things up, putting in my passwords, getting all the apps downloaded, and then it decides that it doesn't like my passcode anymore. And it's like, no, put in your passcode from your last iPhone over 10 years ago. And you're like, what? Who knows their passcode from, like, I have my Apple ID. It doesn't want the Apple ID. It specifically wants the passcode from your phone from over 10 years ago. How is that even a thing?
This is what you get.
It's been kind of hell.
This is what you get.
But Yeah, it is what it is. And, I do kind of have it going now. Who knows if it's going to keep running. And I don't feel good about this purchase. But, the headset better be good, man.
Dude, that
headset better be good.
That's an expensive phone to not feel good about the purchase, bro.
$1,600 for the 15 Pro
You
Max
are insane.
with LiDAR. But I will tell you that I think the thing that finally got me to pull the trigger was that they are trying to go carbon neutral and all these things. And that to me is very, very important. Yeah.
Well, that's admirable.
Yep.
That's honestly, just keeping it real, not something I would consider when making a purchase. So that makes you a better human than me. And maybe you're inspiring me. Maybe I will from now on. You know what I mean?
On, dude.
I guess I should pay attention to that.
Reboot Imagine in the chat saying, beautiful shirt, Skiva. Oh, yeah. You like that? You like that Reboot shirt? I like supporting the best in the biz.
Yeah, dude.
I'm saying
Reboot Imagine, the real deal.
The real deal. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Jose, as always, for your support and for being here with us. You're the real deal, man.
So that's my crappy story of the day. Hopefully things get better. I think they will. It'll be fine.
I mean, a lot of people like it. You know.
No, this is true. They are good devices. They really are. It's like. I'm a computer guy. Dude. I want to pick my default applications. I want to use the browser I want. I want to use the messaging app I want. I want to use the maps that I want. You know what I mean? And
I hope that headset does everything you want.
I know.
It's not going to run Ghost of Tabor, bro. You know that, right?
I know. But that's okay. That's okay because I have a headset. I have many headsets to game on. So I don't need this to game on.
Okay, that's... I wish you luck.
Thanks.
Like Godspeed, I'm praying for you. Okay, so before we start to get into things, I want to take a minute to say hello to our amazing community. We have the best community, who are tuning in to join us live on YouTube, which is where we host the show, right? It's kind of where it lives. But it is available everywhere. We do have a lot of audio listeners, and if that's you, just shout out to you. Thanks for being a listener, even when we talk about the video stuff all the time. We really do appreciate your support. And maybe you're on Spotify, maybe you're on, iTunes or whatever, wherever you like to get your stuff. Thanks for listening. Also, shout out to Upload VR for being partnered with us. We are official Upload VR correspondents. And as such, this episode is available on the weekends on the front page of uploadvr.com. Just the long-standing leader in XR news. So shout out to Upload and Kyle, our uncle, who we love you.
Uncle Kyle. And everyone else that makes the magic of Upload happen. And all the editors and, Harry Baker and Ian Hamilton and Henry.
You don't even know who they are. You don't even know who Upload is. Listen to you.
No, I love those guys. Yeah. I really do.
No, they're great.
So,
listen, thanks for being here and watching on YouTube. If you're here live with us right now, there's something I was going to say about it, but whatever. Qcreator says the weekend. He's number one in my chat, and you know what? He's just 100% right. He is every week, and I don't know what we would do without you, Qcreator. So thanks for being here and being a part of our Between Realities family. Red/Ace in the house, showing up for another Haptics episode.
Heck yeah,
he's always here. He's always here, but
that's Peter, another haptic glove dude.
I know,
man.
There's a lot of us. I
guess there is.
There's a lot of us, and not a lot of us at the same time.
It's good to see that there's so many people trying to usher in all of this technology. Everyone knows hands are important in VR. So,
well, everywhere.
Yeah, well,
hands
true.
are like what make us human.
True.
But we're gonna get into that. Classy Grandma's here. Hey, she's ready. That's right, baby.
Hey, Classy, what's up?
Hey, Classy Grandma, our number one fan. We love you dearly. Obscure Nerd VR. That's Andy. What's up, bro? Good to see you,
Andy,
man.
What's going on?
Hey, German Rifter. Shout out to you.
Hey,
happy birthday,
happy
dog.
birthday, German Rifter.
We love him dearly.
Yes.
OG VR family member and longtime supporter of our show. Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
You are an amazing person. And you know who else is? Ashley Huffman.
Ashley Huffman.
It is also her birthday.
Yep.
And Ashley Huffman is a part of today's story. We're going to get into that.
Oh, cool. Nice.
We're going to get into that.
All right. Happy birthday to Ashley as well. We love you, Ashley. We love you, Daniel.
We love you both. Traveling Man 3775 is here. So happy it's Friday, dude. We're all happy it's Friday, bro.
I know.
It has been
For
a
real.
week. ePilot007. Hi, folks. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for being here. Duggars K in the house. Hey, VR peeps. Virtual Steve says he's going out for his wife's 30th. Otherwise, he would be watching live. He can't wait to mow the lawn this weekend with a cold one and a good pod in his ears.
Nice. Heck yeah, man. That's great.
Check out Virtual Steve. He does really cool stuff in Blender. Getting Things Done. That's Jay Dizzle from the Getting Things Done, Get Him to the Metaverse podcast. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
I've been hanging out with Jay Dunn in VR.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
It's awesome.
He doesn't like to hang out with me in VR.
Nah.
Just kidding.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
I love Jay Dunn and I love Joy Rain. The two of them are amazing. Their podcast is incredible. Everything they do for VR is just, I hold in the highest regards. And
great.
I just love them.
Yeah, we did a little emu VR and struggled with it, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was kind of hard to get everything up and running and get things synced.
It's a tough one. That is a tough application to get everything. Like, you really got to be kind of savvy.
First time it was great. Second time we did it, not so lucky.
Really?
Yeah. So
wait, so you already had it set up and you were going back in to play again?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Had some issues.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I'm chalking that up to like a weird day.
And for anyone that doesn't know, Emu VR is you get to go into like a retro bedroom from back in the day, and there's consoles everywhere and TVs, and you can play games together. You can play NES or SNES or Genesis or whatever together.
It's seriously awesome.
It's rad when it works.
When it works, it's
rad.
so sick. Mm-hmm. They could also use a little bit more like avatar presence. Like there's like very like translucent heads that just kind of float around, and like I'm not feeling like I'm connecting as much as I would with just something a little bit more. You know, like Walkabout Mini Golf. Like it doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah. You know, for the record, I kind of feel that way about Demio too. Like I wish it wasn't just the little floating masks, but I understand why, because the stuff gets in your way when you're in there trying to play the game.
Everything's occluding.
You know, yeah, for sure. So, you know, it is what it is. So.
It is what it is.
Anyway.
Also, I did Citadel with Jay Dunn.
Oh, you did? How was that? I've been dying to get in there.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a great mechanic of like kind of like the Team Fortress to like rocket blast. Like you shoot the ground
and you go flying.
Go flying.
Nice.
Yeah, and it feels great. I was
That's rad.
Like flying through the levels.
I got to get in there and play that, and I got to play that
Super
the
Rumble,
other one, Super Rumble,
which I also played with Jay Dunn.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How's that one?
You know, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they're using, you know, you can now, use tools like Blender to import things into Horizon. So it's not just all the blocks and the geometric shapes and stuff anymore.
Yep.
You know, now there's more complex shapes and mechanics, and
avatars have legs.
Avatars have legs. They have legs.
It's going down. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
evolution.
Worth a look now.
Evolution.
Horizon is worth a look.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some great experiences you can have in there now. It took years, but here we are. There you go, Jay Dunn. I don't ever want to hear it again. Okay. Mind Jive is here. Hi, Yazal. What's up, man? Good to see ya. Hussein X in the house as well.
Hey, Hussein.
Thanks for being here, Hussein X. A just huge VR supporter, man. He's everywhere. Mickey Bear in the house.
Mickey Bear.
Keep an eye on Mickey Bear's comments.
The legend.
You know what this guy does.
He rains codes.
You know what he does, y'all. Reboot Imagine, like we said. Z-Storm VR, who I've also been playing a lot of VR with.
Nice.
We've been playing a lot of Firewall together.
Firewall, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love me some Z.
Yes, me
Heck
too.
Yeah.
$5 from Classy Grandma. Pow.
Oh, wrong button. Wrong button there.
We've been overdue for one of those. Classy Grandma says, no lies, I'm a fangirl. You guys are the best. Way to go, Skiva. Get an upgrade. No one else can get him. Wine. Yeah, I know. The thing is the phone's not an upgrade. That's what we're... whatever. James is here. What's up, James? Good to see you. Hey, Laura Pisa is here. Also from Reboot Imagine. Good to see you, girl.
What is that?
Arcanian in the house. He needs to take a break from No Man's Sky and Vampire Survivors. I really want to play No Man's Sky.
Dude, yeah, I got back into it on PSVR too.
Okay.
It's so good.
Dude, we can't even go into that right now.
I know.
Andy's VR Reviews is here. Just remembered it's Friday and Rushed here. Yes, that's what you need to be doing. Everybody needs to associate Friday with Between Realities VR podcast. That's it.
Yes.
That is what you do on Fridays.
Unless we change the day.
Laszlo, okay, fair enough. Laszlo 216, Cleveland Heights represent. Thank you for being here, dude. Riamu VR was an audio listener, now a live watcher.
Oh, cool.
Yo.
Right on.
Yo.
Thank you.
I love that.
Me too.
That is, honestly, that's the first instance of that I've seen that I know happened. So thank you.
Heck yeah. That's great. Thank you for coming. Checking it out live.
Legitimately awesome. Brandon VR is here. Another homie who we're always getting into the games with.
Heck yeah.
And my lovely wife, Brittany, showing
Hey, what's up, Brittany?
with the gloves in the chat.
Cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. Nice,
Yeah,
nice little touch.
It is a nice touch because today's all about gloves, all right? Everybody knows what's going on here.
It is.
For the past year, I have been working at Contact CI as strategic partnership manager, and I can honestly say it's been the best job I've ever had, hands down. Never had a more awesome job.
Very cool.
Not even close.
Very cool.
Not even close. It has been an amazing experience, and to be a part of a team that's doing something that's so needed and kind of just cutting edge in the space, you know, like there's a lot of, I guess, what's the word? Demand for something like Contact CI is supplying, and to be a part of something like that is really, really important.
Very cool.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, kind of from my description today, you know, the sense of touch is arguably the most important sense that we have when it comes to interfacing with reality, whether it's the real one or a virtual one. And that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case in VR, right? Like eyes and ears kind of seem to like take precedence over everything. But the sense of touch is coming, and it's as important, if not more important, we think, in the long scheme.
Heck yeah, dude, absolutely.
So anyway,
couldn't agree more. At
Contact CI, like I said, I am a strategic partnership manager. It means I'm on the business development team, and that team consists of myself and my superior, my boss and friend, the CEO of Contact CI, who we are introducing now. Please, everybody, welcome to Between Realities, Mr. Craig Douglas.
Yo. Hello. Excited to be here, y'all. Happy Feel Good Friday. You know, it's a pleasure and an honor. You know, it's been a wonderful year working with you as well, Alex. I'm excited to, you know, cap off that first year here together. You know, chatting with you here on your podcast. It's truly, you know, a blessing to be invited by Skiva, because I know he's the one who actually wanted me to come. And so, you know, happy to be here, yo.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm in an especially vulnerable position right now. You know, I have my boss on my podcast, you know, to basically just like, you know, like there's nothing I can do at this point. You know what I mean? Like whatever you say.
I'm in a vulnerable position, if you will, right? It's your podcast, so you can, you know, you got things recorded, you got things going. I'm in your domain.
Oh yeah, I do have. I guess I have the home field advantage.
Yeah, there you go. You're the boss today. So just for the next hour.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be here. I appreciate, you know, everything you guys do at Between Realities. It really is an exciting platform that you guys have built. I mean, as I've said to Alex many times, it's been really, really cool to see the community that you've gathered. It's been cool to see how, you know, pushing the grassroots is not something that stopped when consumer VR became consumer VR, right? Like it's something that needed to continue to always happen. And it's the only reason why people even know about headsets happening. So I love what, you know, both of you guys and the whole community has done, you know, as a whole. So I'm glad to be here for just Between Realities.
Thank you, dude.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you coming. Really do.
Really means a lot to us, you know, especially coming from somebody who has been in the VR space for as long as you have. You know, like I've been, you know, in the past year that I've been with Contact CI, I'm doing as much as I can to make the name as known as possible and synonymous with being hands-on in VR. But I know this is something that you've been doing for 7 years, you know, which like not a lot of people have been involved in that long.
A little bit short. I saw the description. I mean, the initial origin, you know, Tom Buchanan, the other co-founder of Contact CI, he doesn't, you know, like to get out and chit chat as much. But we've been doing it since 2014, and if you can include some of the teammates that we worked with all the way back in college, Tim and Ben, you know, we were working on it as early as 2013, but you know, the company itself has existed since 2015.
Word. Yeah. I mean, dude, like not a lot of people have been in the VR space for that long.
Yeah.
So thank you for all of the work that you have done to get us here, right? Because we're like standing on the shoulders of giants on our little podcast right now, like talking about this technology that we love, when at the end of the day, there have been people who have been involved in this for a lot longer than we've been doing podcast episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So Ian Hamilton and Rev Kyle.
Yeah. Shout out Ian, shout out Rev, Uncle Kyle. So, like, I guess let's talk some origins stuff a little bit. Like, how did VR happen for you, right? Because 7 years ago, it's quite a long time. It was in the very early days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like to say I joined VR professionally in the Oculus Awakening era. So not because VR itself was not being worked on. Like even, a couple months before Oculus got its first funding and, moved forward with everything that they were doing with the team of Brennan Irebe and Carmack and Palmer coming together. Sony had already been having a lab themselves for years, right? You had already had a group of people working on R&D there. You had already had a group working at other headset places as a whole. Microsoft, you had everything going on in the enterprise space that had been existing truly from simulation training. So I like to say it was really the Oculus Awakening era that came about for just consumer VR was when really I started, getting into it for myself. So that again becomes around 2014. I get a DK2. And this is our university lab gets a DK2, right? There's only about 100,000 of these shipped out, not many of them out and about.
Right.
And my good friend Tim Meyer and early contributor and co-founder on the company puts me in one of the DK2 experiences in the lab at school. That was the same one that Buzz Aldrin had been doing PR around, making him tear up, thinking that he first time was really back on a mission, on the Apollo mission, and going to the moon, and really feeling like that was happening. And I was like, oh wow, it's here. Like spatial computing is the next generation now. If that's the type of immersion that he's feeling from something he's truly felt and that no one else can experience, right? Getting an opportunity to go sit down in a lab just a couple blocks over from where I was living and get to try that out for myself, I got really excited. It brought me back to childhood days of going to the 90s VR lab that they had at Disney, where I was able to do that Aladdin ride and really feel like I was getting to see the world on Aladdin's carpet, right? Like that stuff had put like a nugget in my brain as a child. And now fast forwarding all the way up to 2014 when I'm in this DK2, the moment of sitting there going through liftoff, everything, it's magical, it's immersive. I'm feeling like it's really happening. I'm seeing the cockpit around me. I forget that I'm sitting in a chair similar like one I have right now with the screen a couple inches from my eyes, with an Xbox controller in my hand. I go through the moment of gravity turning off, and let's say, just for simple, I'll use the glasses here in front of me, object goes floating by me. My instant instinct being immersed is to reach up and flick it, right? Because I'm like, that's what I wanted to do my whole life in anti-gravity, right? Is experience like that I can manipulate objects there and see how that's different than my regular world with gravity, right? And not having that effect instantly took me back to my chair in Syracuse, New York, with screen being in front of my eyes, an Xbox controller in my hand, and not my hands actually being able to interact. Luckily at that time, Tim and Tom had already been together and working a little bit on some prototypes that led to the Exo Tendon. I turned around at that time and I told him, I agree, I can't really do anything else until we can reach out and touch what's going on in that world, because spatial computing and VR is how we see as the next computing platform. But for the next computing platform to truly happen, it has to be three senses in our eyes. So that was the moment that I dedicated every day to it.
Hell yeah, dude! And it is so interesting. Like you see this every single time you put somebody new into a headset. Well, maybe not every time, but so often when you put somebody new into a headset, you see this thing, especially kids, I've noticed, where as soon as you put the headset on, boom, their hands are up and they are immediately reaching and grabbing at stuff, and you have to be like, hey.
You all the stock photos, right? That the very earliest VR, before even like controllers were out there, before Ultra Leap and Leap Motion Controller 2 was, palatable, or but Vision Pro was going to launch as a hand tracking only device. You had every single stock photo with a Gear VR device that didn't even have hand tracking. People reaching out and trying to touch as the way they were showing, like, hey, here's the promise of VR. Here's how it's demonstratable visually.
100%. You're right. Like every fake image of VR has somebody doing this, reaching out and grabbing with their hands. So, I guess to anybody who has seen that or had that experience, it's pretty clear the path that we need to go, right? Like, okay, we need to be able to feel something.
Yes. Right? Touch is huge, and that's why the very first thing that really happened after VR's launch was we went from that Xbox controller to having the touch controllers, and then HTC with the Vive wands, right? Hand presence was that next big thing, because it's arguably the most important next to sight and sound, right? Mm-hmm. So now we need actual touch. We need to be able to feel things and reach out and grab things and have something stop our fingers and feel that the space of the object and feel the texture and
Craig, do you remember, I'm pretty sure you shared this with me, but there was like a video that was telling the story of like some guy who had lost his sense of touch. You remember what I'm talking about?
Not yet, but I'm sure if you go a little further.
Yeah, I could have swore you shared this with me, or maybe I dug it up in the drive or something. But I watched some YouTube video that was like a woman talking about this case where a guy had lost his sense of touch. Like he can't feel anything, and they said that from his account of the experience that it was like hell. because like think about like laying in your bed. You think you're not feeling anything, but you're feeling a lot. You're feeling.
Oh, so it wasn't just in his hands; it was his entire body.
Anything.
Ooh.
And a lot of times, like really the
How do
way
you even walk?
Exactly.
Wow.
You can't do anything if you can't feel it. And the kind of the way that the talk started was like, hey, if you could lose any one sense, like which would it be, or like what would be the last sense that you would hold on to? One of those like kind of questions, and everyone kind of goes to like eyesight and hearing. Oh, I would lose that or whatever. But anyway, the point was, the sense of touch is profoundly important.
Yeah, man. I would definitely. Peter in the chat isn't going to like this, but I think if I had to lose one of them, it would be the sense of smell. Just because all the expos I go to.
Sense of smell.
What's that?
I currently live with less than like a 15% of the average sense of smell.
Really? Oh, good. So expos are no problem for you. Walking around and you're like, what the heck? That kid didn't shower in 47 years.
Yeah, but it definitely leads to dispositions, growing up, learning, like not having that orientation of what, coming home from lacrosse practice and like being able to also, obviously it had to be, more aggressive. I'm not saying I have no sense of smell, but like it's very, very, it has to be like right here. The aroma has to be really close for me to be able to grasp it. My father has like almost literally none. You can hold something right here and literally like can't smell it.
Well, that's wild. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to lose any sense. I mean, they're all important to the human experience, right? So
totally.
I think it's definitely dulled my taste buds. I'm not really a foodie. I don't really like. I'm not like I get tastes. Like I care about tastes. Like, but I don't really have like those ultimately overly rich experiences from a taste side that other people do. So I mean, like, there's definitely a hindrance in the human experience, right? When I mean, it's capable to be overcome in any type of way, like just like. People who are using modern technologies now to move around, amputees not having sense of touch in their hand and being able to, add that back in and, things like that are, quite amazing, or, giving, some of the early Oculus experiences that were pretty, profound in being able to share what it was like to be a deaf person or being a blind person, trying to give you that, accessibility of being in someone else's shoes. None of those experiences tell me that, like, you don't have to have like profound perseverance to be able to navigate our able-bodied world when you have a missing sense. So it's not something I would wish on someone, just like I don't wish on all of us as the masses inside of VR right now, right? I do believe that the sense of touch is the only sense that you come out of your mother's womb being 100% developed, and that's not just my belief, that's a scientifically proven fact, because it is. Like Alex was saying, in terms of like your bed, that your skin is how you're communicating with your mother inside the womb, and so that's how you built a large layer of nuance, how you already understand and experience things that way already. And your sight and your eyesight, you learn and you bring more into it as you're cultivating your experiences and your interactions throughout the world. But right now we have obviously the opposite of that inside of VR for the most part, right? Tricky bit of marketing, calling the first, 6-DoF controllers touch. Yes, it brought your hands in and it's good and it has interactions going on, but they knew that they were doing a stopgap at that time, right? They knew that like the hand tracking and other ways to get hand presence wasn't all the way there to give the level of dexterity that we wanted yet. Now we have advancements that have make it possible so that you have headsets like Vario using the Ultra Leap integrated directly in. You have the Vision Pro coming out as the first primary hand tracking only device without controllers, so that we can now go to that next step. But if we stop just there, that's where we come back to again being fully touchless. And obviously that's the ultimate goal of contact, is want to make sure that we don't get stopped there. We figure out a way that that those interactions are truly just built the same way that when you come out of your mother's womb.
Right. And now, have haptics always been a part of the plan, or did it start as just like hand presence and tracking and then have the haptics get later? I think this is actually like a legitimate question. I'm pretty sure it's the latter, but I want you to answer that.
No, so haptics has always been the very beginning portion of the plan. So if we think back to that story of reaching out to flick the pencil in the Apollo 11 experience, right? It wasn't just the fact that my hand couldn't grab it, it's the fact that I didn't touch it and give a chance to manipulate it, right? Having that, like, the power to flick it and push through it, that's really what we were really thinking about. And early days, we did spend a lot of time on hand tracking as well, partially because just to be able to do the research that we were doing on the haptics to make the exotendons exist to a point that they could be manipulated well enough in a space to start figuring out how much should we pull them, how much power concern should we have, how should we design around inside a wearable. We needed to have quality hand tracking ourselves. So shout out to John Schroeder, our CTO, back in 2015, 2016. He had created a a 23 degree of freedom, exotendant based tracking system that was inside of our device that, while we were wearing inside the lab, it gave us perfect, abduction, deduction, being able to go across, things like that, being able to move all the way through. But it was more than a 15 to 25 minute calibration process for each person. So we realized from like those situations that, hey, on-hand tracking was probably not going to be the route that we'd be able to get to the most natural hand set. We built with bend sensors, IMUs, other things like that that are more standard off-the-shelf components into gloves as well. But through the developments that Gemini is great now, but I'm blanking on what was the release from Ultraleap in 2016 called. It was Orion. The Orion update, around that time, showed a lot of promise from what was coming from the hand tracking side, that there would be external that would make it possible to be able to plug in as an additive feature, and that's kind of the route we went to, knowing. The goal has always been extending the hand as a whole. Haptics we knew was the ultimate route of getting there. For example, like Tom, his original college thesis included a number of different actuation methods that aren't in the glove currently, and this was all the way back in 2014, 2015, that are things that we'll continue to look at going forward, in the future. Because again, for those who don't know, we call our stuff Multi-Force Ergonomic Haptics. We didn't feel like those types of actuations would add sheer multi-forces, but not something that's ergonomic enough right now, or things that would not be able to give us enough detail. So we focused really on the exotendant from that time, because it was the core thing that allowed us to have multiple forces and be an ergonomic way to get to that first set of hand presence to start.
Totally. And I really do feel that the multi-force ergonomic haptics, that phrase right there really does encapsulate what separates Contact CI from a lot of the other haptic gloves out there. So do you want to give us a breakdown of a little bit of what that actually means?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. What that truly means is that your hand has multiple data points it's picking up at any time you're interacting with something. There's a lot of nuanced things happening, so that leads to the multi-force, right? If you're just one set of data, you're not going to be enough to trick your brain that you're truly engaged. Let's equate that on a visual side to something like black and white versus color TV, right? You're a little bit more engaged when you have that next data point, even though it's there. So we want to make sure that we're not leaving you with just black and white data, but fully color TV data in terms of what's coming on your fingertip engagement. To be able to enable that, we lead into the fact that, as you even see me here moving right now, the hand is the most complex part of the human body and most varied in terms of a mechanical piece of machinery. On everyone's individual body, it has the most varied human factors. And what we mean by that is, every person can move a different amount. Everyone has a different level of dexterity. Everyone has a different level of flexibility. Everyone has a different level of how they engage something. Just on Tuesday when the team was together, Alex and I were there, and we were eating some sushi with chopsticks, and we noticed that every single person kind of has a different level of where they grip onto the stick, where they put their pressure, and how they hold it so that they can manipulate that object. That leads into each person having different expectations that they've built into their brain of how they're going to interact with everything. So to make it a truly hand extension, you have to build it as an object that has all of those ergonomics in mind. You can't build it as something that's just how exciting the engineering it is to do this force. It's really cool that we can output it this way, but does it put it in a way that allows your hand to be extended in a natural or intuitive way? That's, I guess, a little bit wordy of a way that we want to lead to the fact that, does it fit? Is it comfortable? Does it block you from being able to interact normally? So that's really if you break it down on the two layers.
Sweet.
We want to give you all the data that's at least necessary to truly feel immersed. We also want to make sure we don't stop you from being able to interact in a way that you expect or intend to.
Word. Yeah. So, multiple data, meaning we're going to have vibrations combined with force feedback. So it's not just one or the other. It's the blend of the two, allowing you to kind of feel that more, higher fidelity haptic interaction. And then as you can see from some of the footage that we just showed, the glove itself is made out of soft materials. A lot of force feedback gloves out there are there's hard stuff on it, like plastic and metal, and they're heavy, and they're not pliable and lightweight or wireless. Haptics, which does an amazing job with very high fidelity haptics, completely ignores ergonomics.
Absolutely.
To do this, right? You have to wear a heavy backpack, and you're kind of moving like a Boston Dynamics robot.
And all these super thick wires going everywhere.
Totally.
Which feels cool, but is that practical?
Right.
I mean, not really.
Right.
So that's why, I think, Contact CI is nailing it and just knocking it out of the park because you're slipping on some gloves. And that's it. Like, there isn't anything else to put on. There's no wires going to your PC. There's you just put on the gloves, and everyone knows how to put on gloves. So,
yeah.
Literally just slipping them on.
Absolutely. So Classy Grandma hit us with a $10 super chat earlier, and she had a couple of questions. She said, describe to me what haptics and this sense of touch feel like, and does this mean hand tracking mixed with touch can be used for something as specific as, say, sign language?
So sign language is definitely, a great application that people are interested in, have been for a while. I think there's been some quality research that have, produced some good products that are out there, but like most things that have been in the human interaction space that are haptics, similar to the reason why ergonomics matters to us, they do get stuck as a lot of research projects. Adding it to the hand tracking that's already existing in a project definitely makes it possible. So if you have a hand tracking that you're using, again, we could shout out Ultraleap, or the Oculus hand tracking, or the hand tracking on the HoloLens. If you're one of those, you feel comfortable with what you're getting from that data is enough to give you your ASL in a complex way that you're really reading the full movements, right? Then we can add the haptics directly onto that. Yes, that becomes possible right then. That's why we built the stack that way. So if you've built an interaction around a hand tracking already, the haptics can go paired right then, right now. You don't have to redevelop, how you're going to be getting that interaction inside of it. There was a second part of that was about how
what's it feel like?
Fantastic question. One of the hardest problems that has been going on for us over the last 9 years, if you will, is trying to explain that, right? Just like putting on a headset for the first time. Until you do it, you don't know what it really is. So we encourage you, next time we're out and about in public to come experience it, try it at any of our booths. I mean, we know for certain we'll be at CES. We'll probably be at some other places in between now and then, but come by the booth and give it a try yourself. But inside, what it feels like, think about how your tendon gets a little bit tight, or your muscle in the finger gets a little bit tight when you grip onto an object based on your forearm pulling back there. So it's that type of tension force that we're trying to recreate on an object. So let's go with my Coke bottle here in front of me. When you push back on it, in real life you see my finger kind of start to get that rigidity from the physical object coming into it. That's really what we're trying to recreate, and it's a dynamic force. So there's depending on the object's a mass or rigidity that you're going on. That much force pulled back on your finger is how we're going to give you that first sense of feeling. But then we call it multi-force because we are blending that vibration here. So similar to some other vibration gloves that are out there, but the really thing that matters is that we're imparting both effects at the same time. So doing the vibration and the force feedback together now blends it to where you don't really notice if it is a pull that's happening or it's a vibration happening, but you actually just kind of get a static, constant object. If you're trying to push through something with all of your arms force, like coming down on a table like this, it's not going to physically stop you. But if you're trying to come down on just your wrist force, it's going to have enough to fully restrain you and stop you in place. And we line up with how your kind of synapse receptors, expect the proprioception to happen inside of your hand so that you don't grip further, same way that in my table here in real life, right? I don't want to hit it real hard because I know that's going to hurt. I know that if I want to set my hand down, I've learned to just go like that.
Right.
So we're trying to give you just enough force that you feel like that type of motion.
Sweet. The most recent product from Contact CI is Maestro EP. And that's kind of what you're seeing here in some of the footage that we've been sharing, which is, I think, a huge improvement on all of the iterations. I'm really, really stoked about this product and where it is. It is currently available for $3,750, which means it is not a consumer device.
Right.
Right.
But even for enterprise, it's a steal. I mean, if I remember correctly, Haptics' gloves were at the time were somewhere around $30K.
Yeah.
Right. So 30,000 compared to 3,000 ballpark is a massive difference. So from a consumer standpoint, that's still obviously expensive. But
yes, from enterprise. But from enterprise, we're there, right? Yep. So how is it
it's
that
not in the same price as like a Vision Pro, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not a device. You're absolutely right.
So first question is obviously not consumer. So then who is it for? And then second question is like, how are we able to offer a Multi-Force ergonomic device at such a competitive price on the enterprise side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for, mostly simulation training is our market right now. Of course, there's other applications that we've been working with, others that want to truly research on how they're getting hand presence into a space for something else that may lead to consumer, may lead to other things as well. But right now, today, it's focused on those that are trying to do hard skills already inside of VR. So the biggest stopgap for, let's say, you're trying to train a manufacturing facility, onboarding on how to do a pharmaceutical task. Right now, if you're using the controllers in the headset, you're having to learn how to do the buttons, how to have the hand presence, just to learn to do the tasks that you're now going to be doing on job. So there's a two-step process now of learning something to learn something, rather than having your hands directly in the space and giving you a one-to-one muscle memory pack. Ooh. Knocking my things here. Sense of Touch told me that happened, though. That's actually exactly one of the things that some of our end users, in tight spaces, learning that they are in that tight space that they're operating in, rather than VR just giving you that presence of I can just willy-nilly knock around. You might learn that like you're in a secured environment or a healthcare space that you really do have to have body presence while you're doing that interaction and building that one-to-one inside of that, again, hard hands-on skill that you're going to be doing. The biggest end users in this space, are the Defense Department originally. Like they've been, training pilots with cockpits and headsets for decades now. And that's why, again, if I called it consumer VR awakening back in 2014, there had been a lot of people doing stuff on the enterprise side already. That space is really where we're able to unlock not having the build out the physical materials to say, have the switches and dials be there, but now being able to have switches and dials that you're feeling from the headset and the gloves already being there, and not having the, one cockpit take up the space of, being physically built out. You can have 100 cockpits be the space of a chair, a headset, and gloves.
Sweet.
How we're able to really offer them at this price point now is we have learned a lot from one of our early angel investors, being Palmer Luckey, on how to kind of look at parts that have already been scaled up from the consumer world, similar to how he built the original Rift with the taking apart, his iPhone, taking screens out and using components that have got at scale consumer availability and viability, but proving that you can make them work in a device that, while you're building them one-off and producing everything yourself at smaller scales, that, you're able to do so, and that gives us a better, availability of some of the price points as a whole. But also it comes down to just, we've designed the device to allow us to kind of target materials that are durable, viable, and usable, but also not going to be overly expensive, drive us up the price point, and trying to make it seem like, oh, this is a cooler piece of tech because of the materials, rather than the technology itself working perfectly as a glove you expect. And what is the things that would work in an everyday environment? The same way that your gloves that you buy as a workman, or the same day gloves you buy as a pilot, are something that you expect to work every single day there and feel valuable because of their ability to be rugged and ability to work, not because they feel like a high-tech piece.
Yeah. Word. I love it. Classy Grandma hitting us with another $5 saying, OMG, Craig, this is amazing stuff. Well done and keep it up. Thank you. Thank you, Classy Grandma. That's great.
Thank you so much for the super chat.
Too generous. Yeah, dude, I was quite taken aback when I joined the team and you're like, oh yeah, Palmer Luckey is one of our investors. Like, that is super sick. How did that happen?
In the very early days of VR, the early Connects and things like that. Connect 1 was basically Palmer Luckey's birthday party at a time. That's how few people, not how few, but there's how intimate of an event there was at a time and things like that. So there was a lot of people getting to know each other early. So from some other VR founders that knew him well and knew me well, kind of got us together in late 2017, early 2018, got him into a demo. He tried the device, and from there, where it was committed to help back the team later that week, basically, and has been a great advisor, supporter, and someone that's been there for us, early on, and also was a big believer in the fact that haptics is one of the future and most important parts of VR as a whole. So that's really where it came about. Is just that we vibe very well on the vision of where haptics needs to go to be able to get to mass market. but also understanding how we can take, availability of the traction and the devices that are here today.
Dude, you must have been so stoked when Palmer Luckey is trying your device and he's like, holy crap, this is cool.
Right? That's awesome. Very cool.
It was definitely a very validating feeling for us and the team. It was a very, very cool moment, and it's been awesome to have his support, the other investors that have backed us, or the other advisors that have joined us along the way. But that was definitely one of the more validating moments, in the early days for sure.
Absolutely. And honestly, I feel like Context CI has done a good job of like having like cool little partnerships and like have like influential people from within the space be involved in it. Like when I went to the office for the first time and I saw that handwritten note from Lucas VR Tech from the Lucid haptic gloves, the DIY haptic gloves, and he was an intern at Context CI before I started. That blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, like Lucas was here before he went and did all of his stuff. Like that is so cool.
Lucas is the best. Lucas, he's awesome. A big fan. I would say like congruently when he started doing his channel was when we first started to get to know each other as well. So he had at least officially started at the same time. I don't want to claim that he hadn't had his own ideas and begun what he was doing before he started working here. It was amazing working together. But I think at the time the first post I had seen from him that someone had sent over, he had maybe sub 500 views on at the time, and we kind of linked right then and started going. Big fan of Lucas.
That's great. You ever look at his project and be like, hey dude, you better be careful, all right? You know what I mean? You ever have that talk with him?
Conversation. I'm just kidding. Absolutely not. No, his project, I'm a big believer in that, like, haptics, like all modalities of interaction, are going to have multiple peripherals and multiple things that happen to get us to the market, right? There's different niches for each of us to bring it, create the wave and bring the wave together, right? There's not going to be just one gravitational force that makes it initially happen, or even like fills all of the market needs as it fully matures and comes to full consumer side. So it's really cool to see all the other haptic work that's going on out there. I think it's something that's necessary. By no means do I think there shouldn't be other innovation and other projects pushing things forward. So being able to have that low cost self at home device where it leads to more people talking and interested in haptics, I think that's a very important niche for the market to fill.
That's beautiful. I couldn't have answered that any better myself. Traveling Man 3775 in the chat did have a question. He says, how hot do they get? Most gloves hold in heat.
They really don't get that hot in terms of, we've done a good job in the heat distribution, where we have top ventilation as a whole inside of Maestro P. So we had a number of iterations before the one that we launched here at CES this last year called Maestro P specifically that were not this way, but we added the open palm so that it helps kind of give you a good amount of breathability, giving you a more comfortable use while you're wearing it. You don't really come away very covered in sweat or sweat more than you would from just kind of what your interaction would be already without the glove on.
Cool. Yeah, and I feel like the open palm design definitely helps with that, right? Like you have some air on the palm of your hand, which oftentimes for me is like the clammiest part, so you can like get some airflow on your palms at least. At the end of the day, it is a glove. It's not a winter glove. It's not like with padding and stuff like that inside of it, but it is a glove, so there is some warmth to it that you're going to experience. that I would say when put it on your hand.
Anytime I've played with these, I've never been like, ooh, my hands are getting warm. Like it's never even been something that's crossed my mind. So that's good, right? I've never felt that experience. So I feel like these are
because Alex is paid to say that and you're not. So that's good.
This is
honest and transparent with the conversation we're having.
This is not a sponsored episode for the record.
Absolutely.
This is.
I was harkening back to the joke about vulnerability earlier. My bad. I thought that would be understood. I didn't mean it.
No, it was.
Sorry, community. It was not meant that way.
Oh, Craig, you're a sweetheart. Mickey Burr dropping a Zero Caliber VR Steam key in the chat right now. You should jump on that.
Yes, you should. And I got to tell you, I have been playing Zero Caliber multiple weeks. We go in there and we do co-op missions and we go through the story mode together, like 3 or 4 of us at a time, and it's so freaking good. Every time I'm in there, I'm like, how is this game not like one of the most popular games? It is really, really good. If you haven't played Zero Caliber in a while, now's your time. Grab that key, get in there, especially on Steam. Crank those settings up and play.
Uninclined. What's the pitch on Zero Caliber?
It's almost like a call. Remember when Call of Duty used to have a campaign? Right.
Yeah.
So it's very much like the campaign of a Call of Duty game, but there is also PvP and all of that stuff in there as well. But it is, it's very much like you're getting dropped into like some kind of war zone scenario. But it's stupid amounts of fun. The guns all have detachable scopes and silencers, and you can kind of find pieces to upgrade your weapon along the way. It's just really good, and it's been around for a really long time, but it has continually improved to the point where it is not the same game that it launched as. So
I respect that constant iteration. I mean, that's one of the things that's gotten us to where we are with the Maestro EP. I mean, it's like I was alluding to the years over time. It's one of those things of VR has to be experimented in. You have to be in it and figure out what is the reason this needs to exist, and kind of figure out the right thing that actually makes it work, rather than just like the idealized, here's how it's going to happen. And getting out there, making it, and iterating, I think is one of the coolest things that the people in this market have done a lot of.
Yeah, for real. Do you remember like back in the day, you would go out to the store, buy a Nintendo cartridge, and that's it? If there was a bug in that game, that bug was forever. Right? Now games launch, you look at No Man's Sky, right? Not even close to the same game.
20%.
Maybe that, right? So it's really cool to see that in games, but it's also cool to see that in hardware, right? We continue to get better headsets. We continue to tackle more and more of the problems, that we hear from the community and the people that are using them, and things are getting better. We have gloves like Contact CI's gloves that have been going through iteration after iteration, and they keep getting bigger and smaller and lighter and more breathable, and so it's really cool. It's
more
good to see.
More dynamic in their force, more intimate in what their nuance they're able to do.
Boom.
That's right, baby. Yep. That is right. Kenzie Gaming VR.
Hey, Kenzie.
$10, baby.
Hey.
Baby.
Hey.
Saying happy Friday. Have an amazing podcast.
So much.
Thanks, man.
Right on.
In terms of nice iterations that also happened out there on like the hardware side, and like things that can happen from the market. It's really cool to see the Leap Motion 2 controller to now get its successor out there from Ultra Leap, right? Having that exist. Have from the Leap Motion 1 controller being the same hardware for so long, continually getting upgraded from software and making it push further and showing what can come with having this device that's already existing. And now that market has proven that it needs to continue to exist. It's necessary and be helpful to have an upgraded version. They put out the hardware that can now cap that software even harder and go any further on that side. I think that's another cool example of something that's out there in the world that has put a device, got in developers' hands, got into users' hands, got feedback, iterated over years, existed over years, but maybe trying to figure out what was the right use case, and now has the proper successor that's out there in the market. So if you're looking to integrate hand tracking into any of your devices, and you're not using one of the first platform interactions, I do think checking out that Leap Motion controller too, even if you saw Leap Motion back in the day and don't think was worthwhile, like there's been years and years and years of upgrades that make it worthwhile nowadays.
It's so good now. It's so tiny and small. And for anyone out there in the chat that doesn't know what an Ultra Leap controller is, it's this little thing you stick on the front of your headset, and it creates really good, accurate hand tracking. Better than
it is the Leap Motion controller though. Like that's specifically the brand on it. Just even like Ultra Leap's like the
right.
And then because like the Ultra Leap is their haptic side.
Yes. Yep, gotcha.
Right,
they should sponsor us, because we were talking. If you're an audio listener, I'm literally wearing an Ultra Leap T-shirt right now, and we're like sitting here just like gushing over their hand track, like Ultra.
Well, it's so
Ultra Leap. Send us a check. Where's Tessa? I'm hitting up Tessa. After
they have sent us hand tracking modules, which is really nice.
Well played.
But man, they're so good, right? Because Quest uses cameras. and they try to identify, they use algorithms and software to try to identify your hands. And right now, the Quest is doing a phenomenal job doing so. It's come light years from the very first iteration of their hand tracking.
Oh, yeah.
But the things that Ultra Leap has...
my favorite hand tracking right now.
Yeah?
Personally, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. And Ultra Leap has done a phenomenal job since the beginning too, right? Using all different kinds of sensors and things to be able to accurately track your hands, which, you know, I know I've told you before, and I know, you know, Craig, but the founder of not Ultra Leap, but Leap Motion went on to eventually sell the company and go find Midjourney, which is pretty cool, right? So I don't know, just some little...
It's a nice comeback story, a nice founder chip on shoulders of I'm going to do it my way from learning from what went on in the Leap Motion side of things. Mm-hmm. Shout out to David and I think they've got a 40-person team that does Midjourney now. I like people calling them the new era Craigslist in that way, kind of some of the ways that they're bucking the venture capital market, and going their own way. But yeah, it's really cool to see what that team has been able to go out and recontinue, both the group that's continued within Ultra Leap on the Leap Motion side, and then the group that's with David gone out to do Midjourney. It's really awesome to see that stuff as a whole, for sure.
It is. The mind it must have taken to be like, hey, I'm going to make something that can track your hands in a spatial computing environment, right? Like before VR was even a thing. I mean, he had this thing hooked up to screens and kind of doing a Minority Report, like swiping and, moving stuff around on computers, which is really, really cool. And then to get that to a point where it's so good and then leave and do something like Midjourney, artificial intelligence, like, man, that guy's mind.
We need smart people out there.
Yes.
Smarter than me.
Yep.
Because I'm not figuring that out. Traveling Man again with another good question, saying, could surgeons perform surgery from across the planet with these, meaning, haptic gloves and hand tracking?
Telepresence.
Or aren't we there yet? What do you think, Craig?
It's definitely possible, but it's not something that I would say is the most optimal way to be doing it right now. There's a lot of things in terms of the full stack of combining the sensor on the end of the fingertip of the robot. There's good ones that are out there, like Touch Labs or like why am I blanking? SynTouch. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Big fan of SynTouch. Sorry for your shout out, y'all. But like those types of fingertips, combined with more animatronic hands, like a shadow hand, or something that's got enough dexterity to be able to output similar to your full hand, that makes it possible. Right now, the surgeons aren't really trained on that, so that's also part of it, right? If you look at, like, say, how the Da Vinci robot, got it scaled up, there had to be a number of years where the surgeons themselves were learning that skill versus directly, dexterously manipulating on the patient themselves. But it is something that is absolutely coming, and a big part of what my initial college thesis is getting to that standpoint. There's a few technologies that are now in 2023 making it possible for pilots to start happening. But there's, I don't see this being something that would truly be happening until more like the 2030s, late 2030s decade that you're seeing it going on, rather than, here in the 2020s decade that you're having that, actively be a common function. But it's something that, like, I've been able to wear a haptic glove, feel a robotic hand, doing something on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean from me. And so it's definitely possible. It's definitely happening. That was a robotic hand doing so. It's just there's a number of steps that need to happen before you're going to get regulation, as well as, like, surgeons already being trained and comfortable in putting that into the field.
Word.
I wouldn't want to deal with latency issues with telepresence surgery. Sorry about that cut.
Honestly, that's one of the things that 5G actually is helpful for. Like early in the 5G push, like all those companies reached out to us, like wanting to use haptics as an example of something they could do in a demo booth, and that was really like the only one that made it worth entertaining and interesting for us, because it was like, you have a low enough latency that you can do, a far distance, interaction like that one that was with the Touch Labs team, directly doing the robotic fingertip, over in the UK at their facilities, versus Alex and I were in LA wearing the haptic glove. So, that was no latency, nothing, that's from LA to Scotland. So
Amazing. That's so cool. I can't wait until 5G comes along even more and has more reach and not so huge cities all over the world, where everyone can kind of have that kind of latency free internet.
One of my visions on it that I think will be really pretty world impactful if we're able to do so. If we can make it to where keyboard workers aren't the only ones that can work remotely, if desired, right? I'm not saying this is something that everyone needs to be, but if we have let's say a valve oil change facilities, is that how you say it? Valvoline, is that right?
Valvoline, yeah.
Yeah, Valvoline. Yeah, Valve was messing me up there. I prefer to go that, I guess, muscle memory. If you have like Valvoline oil change facilities across the country that have a robotic hand attached to it inside of it that have the ability to let someone, in Cincinnati versus someone in Dallas versus someone in New Orleans versus someone in New York, log into facilities in each of those same places, but, scattered about. And now you have you can have maybe gig economy or remote work that comes from hand skills as well, where like you don't necessarily have to live, only right there to be able to work in that facility. You can control through a robotic, haptic interface on that hand and be, logging into your rig at your house, or your training facility or something like that. That type of stuff is definitely coming and definitely would be possible. We're ways away from now, but that's like, long-term, extensions of doing things inside of VR, allows you also to control the robots in that way. It's not even just on the surgery side.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
Spry guy.
I look forward to that future.
Hi, VR Spry guy. How you doing, brother?
What's up? I think it was VR Spry guy. Was it just your birthday yesterday? I'm pretty sure it was.
Really? Wait,
I think it was.
Isn't that like a long-running joke?
Oh, maybe it is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always VR Spry guy's birthday.
Yeah.
So then when it actually happens, it's like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
Right.
So today, Contact CI, Maestro EP, Haptic Glove, force feedback exotendon system, vibration motor, fingertip sensations. That's where we're at in 2023. But what can we share about the vision of the future of haptics, right? Like, are we as a company going to stay focused on gloves? Are we going to expand into other devices or other different types of haptics? Like, what can we share about what's coming?
Sure, absolutely. For us at Contact CI right now, the only thing that we'll be focused on, or have any plans to be focused on is the hand itself. There's enough complexities of what's going on there. Remember when we were talking about multi-force, around the fact that there's 15 data points that your fingertip picks up within a 2 millimeter range, and they're really detailed, layered on top of each other, and that's what leads to Skiva being able to pick up that cup right now, be able to tilt it and feel the physics of the water dripping back and knowing which angle he's at and going from there. All of those levels of details, we want to continue to get really honed in on that rather than expanding elsewhere onto the body, but making sure that at the same time we don't expand past the footprint of that ergonomic way that we're putting the output onto your hand. So that's really the focus for us, is how do we get to more detailed ways that you're feeling what's going on and getting, both on the software and the hardware side. So there's some things that can, really improve, and things that we are continually and excited to do so. If you'd like to continue working on those projects and problems, we'd love you have reach out to us here at the Contact CI team, because we definitely would like to continue to get more detailed on like the ways that we're making the actuators sing better, but also the ways that we're making the actuators be a choir and be in harmony together.
Nice. There's a lot of there's like a handful of different haptic approaches right now that you can kind of see people are starting to dip their toes into. One of them that I find really interesting is like temperature stuff, like hot and cold. What are your thoughts on like temperature haptics? Do you think they're important?
I think temperature haptics have a lot of importance, in being like a second factor. It's similar to like, there's a lot of interactions that they will enhance, but there's not a ton of interactions that they are solely required for. So you can get the first levels of that brain being tricked that it's really there, feeling like you have color TV without it, but I don't know if we can get to true HD TV without it.
Yeah, like the thing that I imagine, like the lowest hanging fruit for me is like a firefighter's training module where you grab a door handle. It's like touch the doorknob. Is it hot? Okay, that's where the fire is. It seems like a pretty low hanging fruit. That kind of training seems to me like it would have a pretty practical application.
Absolutely, and there definitely is a market for that, as you know from our conversations, for sure. The biggest concern on most temperature devices is similar to a lot of other limitations on other haptic devices in terms of like their modality being introduced until they have a a controllable enough amplitude that makes like the range worthwhile, right? To where you can go cold enough, you can go high enough, and you can also be dynamic enough that you have a full nuance that you're doing, not just an on-off, but like, this is hotter, this is hot, and increasing in heat. Now you're at full on fire. Things like that is one limitation. But then once you get to having that full like frequency control range, it comes down to, does the latency of heating it up and cooling it down be enough to be quick enough within the interactions? Those are the two limiting bottlenecks primarily. There are technologies that have been really cool in research labs that are out there. There's another device that exists in terms of like on the consumer side that is shipping some temperature haptics right now that do have some compelling force interactions, but there's, for the most part, that those two bottlenecks have kind of kept temperature from being able to be something that's at least ergonomic, and being able to come down in a way that doesn't stop and impede you when you put in a device that's too bulky on your hand to be able to make it all get over those other two bottlenecks. But it's definitely something that is on our roadmap in our R&D lab, and something that I'm actively wanting to bring to the Maestro line in the future.
Sweet. Yeah, it'll be fun to experiment with that stuff. And potentially dangerous too. Like, imagine if something like that malfunctions.
I know, right?
There's another side of the concern on the consumer. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
there's also some really cool medical devices out there that have like made groundbreaking innovations for people on like the heat haptic side, if you will, because that's another. The medical device is a lot of world where people don't realize that because they don't call it haptics what's in it, but like. I'm blanking the name of the disease right now. Apologies for those that are affiliated or afflicted. But when your hands get cold, you have like basically there's a severe pain that shoots through your nerve with this specific disease, and someone built gloves that basically feel the outside air, so that when you can walk through the freezing aisle at a grocery store, it can interact with the outside air being cold and now heat your hand up to avoid that shooting pain. And so that now someone that is afflicted by this, they don't need 13 milliseconds latency the way that a gamer does to be able to flick a poker chip and have it, feel hot when someone put that coal in their hand or something or whatever, right? But they do have the ability to get a hot enough temperature inside that glove to counteract the pain that could happen in a 50 to 100 millisecond time frame. So like those technologies are slim enough to fit in a glove and have existed and have trials that are really impactful out there. So there's definitely stuff that could come, but it's just right. I mean, it's cool that there's real world haptics that are making good impact for people's lives before that that we can maybe eventually transfer into how we're interacting with computers as well.
Hell yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that glove that like helps people with that pain in their hands. It's pretty rad.
That is cool. Yeah, that's pretty rad.
All right, so I got a question for you, Craig.
I got an answer for you, Alex.
Are the Panda Dunks the worst sneaker?
Why?
What is this you speak of?
I disagree. That's just not fair.
What is a Panda Dunk?
What's a Panda Dunk, Craig?
They're a colorway from Nike specifically. They're a popular. They're one of the more. They're one of the more sought after, Nike Dunks these days. Alex and I bought a pair while we were abroad for my wife,
so I saw some interviews. So let me start by saying this, because I realize this question is really weird and completely out of left field. Craig has an affinity for sneakers, specifically Nike sneakers.
Cool.
And yeah, I did watch him. I was with him when he purchased a pair for his wife. But recently, I've seen some interviews on like Facebook of people like at conferences, and they're like, "What's the worst sneaker in the world?" And everybody said the Panda Dunk. All of them. Yeah. Like everybody.
It has become a little bit synonymous with like look, I'm part of the sneaker culture. I know what I'm doing. I'm in it. But then like you don't. It's just kind of the black and white basic, if you will.
Yeah. But I appreciate your affinity for sneakers. I've personally I wear when I buy a shoe, it's like purely function. Like I'm never thinking about like style or whatever. But as soon as I start hanging out with Craig, he's got all of these like Nike sneakers that are like special and like limited edition and like exclusive and all that stuff. And he's got so many of them that are the contact CI colors. Like,
oh, that's so cool.
The teal,
Nice,
so he's like always matching his shirt with his sneakers. I'm like, man.
You know what determines whether I buy a shoe or not?
Yeah, if they make it the size that fits your
if they have
foot.
My size.
What size? If you don't mind doxing that.
16.
16, they make most Nikes in 16. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, do they though? So, well, I'll tell you this. If I walk into a store that has all of these cool shoes on the walls, I'm like, wow, look at those. And I say, do you by chance have any 16s in the store? If they don't immediately say no, then they will always go for the ugliest, most whack shoe in the whole place. And when they're like, we have these, why? Yeah.
That's fair. It's because a lot of resellers don't buy them at that price. You got to directly get it at from the app itself to get it at that size. Absolutely, that's fair. Yeah. I can share, my strategy next time I'm out there.
Nice, yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm a big believer in what you put on. Your shoe itself, kind of specifically, is part of your day to start the day. It's you going out there. It's you put them on to walk in the world. Everyone puts two shoes on when they start their day, and it's just like I don't know. It's for me. I like Fresh Kick Fridays is a thing I do sometimes because it makes me feel good, right? It's like a nice little perk. It adds things up. But I'm also one of those people who I don't put sneaker culture on anyone. I don't yuck anyone else's yum. I don't expect them to enjoy my yum. So
right.
That's my thoughts on it.
How many pairs?
Push sneaker culture on most people.
What's your closet look like? Like how many pairs of Nikes do you think you own?
Oh, I don't want to disclose that.
Okay.
I don't know.
So then I'll ask this. Then.
Respectful night's work. It's a true American grit, story of starting something and bringing something that represented what he wanted to bring, and also served that the customers needed. So I think it's one of the triumph of business stories of America, and I think it's something I'm happy to support.
Beautiful.
Heck yeah. So I want to know then, when is the Contact CI kicks coming out? When do I get haptics?
Yeah, baby.
That when I'm doing I'm walking in VR, I feel it hitting the bottom of my feet, and I go kick someone in Blade and Sorcery, and boom, I feel it.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. You're a sneaker guy. Let's do this. Let's make this happen.
That's fair, but again, I mean, the Contact CI side probably will not be focusing on the shoes. I think there's some other ones that are like Ecto VR. They're doing some great boots. They're doing awesome boots that bring your feet into the environment. I think there should be people who are themselves that are building that. I don't want to say we're going to, but maybe a nice Nike collab on a material that gets us to the point where you actually have that self-lacing glove. Something like true Back to the Future, but it's we're reaching into VR to feel the unreal. That's maybe that's where that'll happen. From that route. But
nice.
We're not a shoe company ourselves. We just want people to lace up their hands to get into VR. We don't need people to lace up their shoes to get out to the world.
I love it.
That's right, baby. That is right. So we talk about mass adoption on this podcast a lot, and I think that there's a lot of different perspectives on it. But I'm interested what your thoughts are in terms of from the Contact CI perspective, the biggest hurdles into getting people to adopt this technology and start using it and start leveraging it. What's standing in the way of everybody having a pair of Maestro EPs for their applications?
Biggest bottleneck that has existed for haptics is we are limited for first and foremost by the hand tracking. I think it's a massive thing. I'm very excited about. I did the sort of similar thing that Skiva did that you guys were talking about in the opening but just one generation, a couple generations before, you're getting prepared on having the Apple device so that I could, be ready for when the Vision Pro comes out. And it's particularly exciting that they're launching as a hand tracking first device without controllers. So having the hand tracking be at the forefront of how everything's being designed from a user application side, from how a user is being trained to expect to interact with objects, that's the first thing that matters for the haptics even existing and being useful inside the object. So that being, how the platforms themselves are pushing it now is a big thing for it coming forward. I think that's one of the reasons why over the last 9 years we haven't really considered it at all until it was at a point where you had Gemini bringing Ultraleap's, tracking to the point where now you have a Vario that has interactions in it that are at a level of consumer that can be hand tracking viable. That makes it possible for us. I mean, the Knuckles controllers, that was something that made it interesting, right? Being able to slide in, to what you have from, what you have on your index, cap sensitive up and down motion tracking there. But that again still had the next factor of it being the user friction of you're putting on the glove, then you're putting on the controller on top of it. Now you have multiple devices all around you, and that's the biggest bottleneck of any type of wearable thing is how much time does it take for user friction to go into it? And then third, I think is kind of comes back to the reason why Nike somewhat inspires me is how does the product make people feel? You know, does it make it excited to put it on? Are they feeling like it's like impeding them, or it's a step that's not like, you know, worth it? Like when I go skiing, I feel good to put on my Burton gloves and like put on my Oakley goggles and get going, like because of like the feel of how those. I don't feel like I'm getting ready doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like I'm suiting up, right?
Yeah.
So like having the product get to the point where people feel like they're, you know, Avengers assembling, putting their headset and their gloves on, you know, that makes it that's a big part of, you know, the mass adoption props that can come from putting your hands and your eyes into devices both together at the same time, and then being able to jump into a virtual environment.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
It is such a good
real.
point. Like people feel like I don't know, there is something about wearable technology that I do think people struggle with that sometimes, you know, like they don't feel like they're putting on their Oakley goggles and about to bomb a hill on a skate. You know, they're like, oh geez, what am I getting myself into? Oh, how am I going to look with this stuff hanging off of me? And that like puts them into like a vulnerable position where now they're like almost on the defensive sometimes. That's honestly never something that I've ever felt. I have never for a second struggled with that. You think so?
I think you are. I hear that a lot from people, more than I would have ever thought, because I think I'm an anomaly too. I never really even thought about it until people really started bringing it up. Like I'd be like, oh, try this. And people are like, no, I'm going to look stupid. Like, what? You care about that?
Yep.
Oh, no way. That's a thing.
Yeah, you buy your shoes off function. Most Americans don't. That's why they buy Panda Dunks.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, it's interesting. I was at you know, this was like when I was really first getting into VR. My first year of VR, maybe year and a half, you could not get me to shut up about it. Like if you were talking to me, I was talking to you about VR. Period. It was the only thing I thought of for 18 months straight. And everybody that I worked with at the restaurant was just like you know, like they had to deal with me. So anyway, I went to a party one time and I brought a PlayStation, or maybe they had it there, I don't know, it doesn't matter, and we were playing Beat Saber, and like everybody's kind of taking a turn in the headset, and there was a girl at the party who would not do it. Absolutely not. Like could not be convinced in the slightest to put that headset on. And we're like, girl, just put on the headset, like it'll be fun. And she's like, no, like hardcore no. And it turns out it's primarily because she thought she would look goofy in it.
I am so happy I'm not vain.
It's not vain. It's not vain. It's more, it's I don't want to put that thought down. It's more of like a self-perseverance of like the vulnerability that Alex was talking about, I think is where it comes more down to that. Yeah. Like specifically with covering your eyes and your ears, right? You know,
okay, well,
you've lived in your body your whole life, right? You're not, you know. Yeah. I've lived in the body of being at 16. I was 5'4", 100 pounds, and then by 21, I was 6'2", 200 pounds. So I saw difference of what it was being like a tiny, vulnerable person to then not. I think that's part of it.
Okay, so if you can't, you know, if you look at it from a perspective of I cannot see, something could happen, you know, like I'm freaked out because I can't see the world around me, I don't feel safe, that's one thing. You know, when I said vain, I was going from a standpoint of I'm going to look stupid. What are people going to think? You know what I mean? Like self-consciousness. I don't ever want to miss out on potential life-changing technology, or even perspective-changing technology, because I'm nervous about, you know, what people are going to think on how I look on the outside. So,
but I think that's part of why the two of you have early adopter ethos, and that's a good thing. And that's another section of, you know, what's necessary for, you know, technology adoption to come along, right?
Great question from VR Spry Guy. How big was Skiva at 16?
At 16, I was my current height. I was just a lot skinnier. Yeah, I was 6'7", and I was probably right around 150 pounds.
At what age did you hit that 6'7" mark?
Oh, I hit it in middle school. I was I think I was in between 6th and 7th grade.
And was everybody like, bro, join the basketball team?
Well, I mean, the teachers were like, where's your homework? And I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. You know, like, it was weird. And everyone wanted me to play basketball. Everyone did. And I tried, And then everyone's like, yeah, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not for you. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's very reasonable. That happens to everyone that has this. I mean, I have a good buddy that he was already tall early, right? Like, you know, his dad was just below 7 foot, you know, and he ended up, you know, getting to 7'2" by the time we were seniors in high school.
Wow, that's wild. That's great.
And, but he was the same beanpole, right? You know, and it was like, first, yeah, it was like he played basketball, he did a little bit, and it was like off the bus intimidating factor, but then once you see him start moving, he was, you know, not into the way that now he's extremely athletic, you know, because he's, you know, been able to grow into that body, be able to move with it, and has full proprioception that's expected for that size of length.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
I'm sure you'd be better now is all I mean by that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And later on in life, I did go on to play some sports. You know, I played rugby for a little while, and, you know, I like just playing some, you know, random stuff with friends outside. But back in the day, growing up, it was awkward and weird, and I didn't like basketball. I didn't want to play it, but everyone was like, you don't want to be rich? I was like, all right, I'll go try it, you know, and I tried it, and I genuinely didn't like it, and I wasn't very good at it either.
All those hand skills that you've built by getting comfortable in it now, we want to still allow that to transfer to people in VR, right? You know?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, rather than like that first time you're playing basketball, you know, being awkward of like, you know, my hands, I don't know what these are, right? You know, you've used them for a long time now, and you know you're able to do it. That's like some of the big difference for what we see from like controllers and gloves, and why haptics at the whole long-term matter is that like you have those weird little learning models in your brain, and you're not really you don't like by the time that your arms got to the length that they are, you're now able to interact at that distance. But when they were shorter, you might have, you know, while they were growing and constantly changing, interactions were still constantly being more awkward and messing up because you didn't have like a standard set of like, here's what I expect my hands to be. That's long-term what leads into the ergonomic aspect of things, is like everyone has a very different, you know, matchup to what they expect their hands to have been at, because they've gotten used to that full length, that full change, that full dexterity, that full bit movement. Because of, you know, some of that like kind of same experience for me in basketball when my arms grew, right? I went from being that really small child to not in that same time period, and like I went from being able to shoot a basketball to like, if I pick it up, like I don't know what I'm doing with it now because they're like my hands 2 inches further away from me than they were, and that feels really odd. I don't know how to move my arms around properly. So trying to make sure we never like give those expectations. Difference is like a lot of, you know, where ergonomics comes to the part of how we're building here at Context CI. You know, just small little things like that. Sorry to jump, you know, fully into it, but I think it's like,
that's
people
great.
don't realize how much your brain has picked up on what your hand has been doing throughout its whole life and where its standard is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is, I mean, great point to make at the perfect time. We are getting close now, so we're about to start wrapping this up. But I do just want to ask you, Craig, like, is there anything that's important about what we're doing at Contact CI, or about haptics in general, or about VR in general that you think we should probably mention, or that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet? How you feeling? You know, I want to give you a chance to just bring up something that we should have talked about yet that we haven't.
Oh, you know, it's always dangerous to just give me an open floor. Are you sure you want that?
Oh, yes. Kidding. Oh, yes, sir.
And I feel like I've enjoyed the conversation quite a bit. But I think the one of the things that's really important for people to take away about Contact CI is our goal is that right now today we want to, you know, use simulation training and other ways that, you know, you have your hands already being extended on an enterprise side to train all the long-term, you know, software and models and the iterations that we need to on the hardware to get to that long-term consumer extension of the hand sense of touch. That's why if you're a developer out there who's, you know, using some sort of hand tracking already, you know, we built it to be additive on top of that. There's no hand tracking inside the glove other than the software, so that you don't have to replace what you're already building. You can, you know, add the haptics directly on top of it. You know, that's really, I think, one of the important things about the process of the way that we've been building is trying to make sure that we're enabling things to only be additive. You have your hands already there. How do we add that you're adding the touch in? And how do we add, you know, more actuations onto the Multi-Force in a way that, you know, keeps things ergonomic in its design?
What's been your primary focus as CEO of the company in the past month or so?
1,000 different things.
Yes.
Yes.
But like, why did you travel recently?
I mean, we're not something that travel's not, I guess, to be disclosed.
Okay, I didn't know if you were disclosing that or not, but fair enough. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about it if you wanted to.
No, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, there's this week, you and I were together to see some of our customers at the Air Force, right? You know, that's one of the travels that happened this week we can talk about. You know, it's one of the things that right now we're constantly looking for, you know, people that have, you know, built tracking or built, you know, content around a controller, and are looking to now bring that from that controller, upgrade it to being an integration with haptics. That's one of the things that we're, you know, actively doing so today. So, you know, it's not a number of the content that we've done with the Air Force is specifically stuff that was built around, you know, again, if you put your button, you put your controller down, it makes the switch happen by pressing the trigger or pressing A, but instead, you know, upgrading that to where you have, you know, an Ultraleap integration, or you have a Quest integration, or you have a HoloLens integration, and we've added the haptics on top of it so that you can feel those interactions themselves. That's really important because we're trying to, you know, every day, you know, whether it's for a customer or if you want to join the team just to help us build out interactions, like we want to be working on every day of like, you know, something like, how is this hammer supposed to feel inside VR? How's this saw supposed to feel? Or how things like that, so that we can, you know, add those tools and those libraries to what developers and other pieces of content can add to in the future. That's a big part of the future right now, is trying to unlock, like, you know, how we can continue to build more nuanced haptics or more compelling haptics from the software side that takes advantage of what EP can do today.
Sweet.
I have one more question here. I would love to know if there are, I'm sure, you know, this wouldn't be tomorrow, but are there ever plans that you've ever thought about for a consumer version of these gloves?
Definitely, without a doubt. Definitely the goal is to get there. You know, we designed a pair with a Sony logo on them at one point in time. I'll say that. We'll leave it there. Years ago, you know, not something currently in process, but like, you know, it's definitely something that's in our roadmap and something that's in part of the plan. A really big part of like why, I guess, simulation training or like research and design applications, or being able to use things for, like, you know, let's say a car manufacturer being able to unlock them doing a user case study of, if I put the dials over here, does it mess up the fact that, like, now they have to look to reach for it, rather they can still just find it, touch it, and grip it and go forward before redesigning their physical model, or being able to do things where, like, you know, you can feel an actual scalpel go across clay without having the clay or the scalpel be there, because you have that multiple layers of force, but still being able to, you know, ergonomically move your hand like you would as the normal artist who's sculpting that clay design of how you do each year in the car process. Those types of things, we can interact and make them happen already today to build out that full library of interactions that will eventually make it possible for game developers to not have to really rework everything, you know, that they're doing to add haptics onto all the interactions that they're doing in their current consumer content. Or in things like, you know, you and I being in a virtual space and handshaking and high-fiving and feeling that on a consumer side. And we want all that to already kind of exist from the roadmap of work we've done on the enterprise side.
Awesome. And, you know,
very cool.
It's a really exciting time right now, folks. You know, obviously I was being coy with my questions to Craig because I know there's a lot of exciting things happening at Contact CI right now that we can't always talk about, which is why I can't directly ask some questions. But things are exciting.
I can talk with Alex about them. I'm like, wait, this isn't a Zoom call.
Yeah, we'll take that offline. But just know, people, that it's exciting times for haptics. It's exciting times for Contact CI. There's a lot of stuff happening. You know, we are moving. We're making things happen. And if you are out there and you're like, okay, yeah, these guys are awesome, maybe I want to be a part of this squad, maybe I want to contribute or help, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Craig, and we'll see if we can make something happen, you know, because we're gonna make this happen. Haptics are happening, right?
Absolutely, haptics are happening. Maestro EP is available, shipping and producing and selling and shipping out right now. Like Alex said, but there's lots of good stuff going on as well. So I really appreciate you guys having me here to talk on Between Realities, because I mean, it's haptics are happening, but realities are happening because, you know, there's a lot of good grass movement conversations in the consumer space, always pushing it forward.
Dude, thank you so much. There are some links in the description below to get in touch with Contact CI or Craig if you wanted to reach out to him and you have additional questions. Dude, like, for real, it has been such an honor working with you for the past year, man. Like, I was so excited when I got the gig, and I'm still every bit as excited today as I was when we started, if not more so, because over the past year, I feel like we've really, like, learned how to work well together and hit a stride, and things are feeling great. And, you know, I feel like this is just like a symbolic thing to have you on as a guest on the podcast right at like that 1 year mark, and I can't wait to see what we do together, man. It's super exciting stuff, so thank you so much.
Yeah, Steve, it's been great to know you this past year. That's felt. It really has been awesome. It's been an awesome year, and Skiva, it has been also awesome getting to know you as well. I didn't mean that jost and joust.
I know. And I will say too that I have thoroughly enjoyed every interaction that I've had with Contact CI gloves, and traveling around and going to some of these expos and getting to hang out with you. You're a really good dude. Super stoked that you're in this industry making awesome things happen, and can't wait till the next time we get to meet up at a convention.
Shouldn't be too long.
I appreciate y'all. I want to throw a shout out to Ashley Huffman. Happy birthday. You said that she was part of the story. She is actually originally how Alex and I met, because the grassroots of that community continuing to connect people together that helps move things together. So if there's ever someone that you think that we should be talking to, or someone that you want to be talking to us, like Alex said, hit us up. Follow us on the LinkedIn, follow us on the Twitter, follow us out there on the social spaces. Both Contact CI and or myself and or Alex and Skiva will all be available. So appreciate y'all. It was awesome to be here.
Thank you so much, Craig Douglas, CEO of Contact CI, my direct superior at work. I will see you in stand-up on Monday. Thank you so much for being here, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Feel you on your friends.
All right, everybody, say bye to Craig. Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye. Wait,
wrong button.
Come on, man. There he goes. All right.
There we go.
I started to get scared for a second. and I really do appreciate that shout out that Craig just did for Ashley. Yes. She is the reason why I work at Contact CI. Straight up. Like, she is the reason. She made the connection happen. She made the introduction. Craig and I got to meet, and the rest is history,
That's awesome.
So she has been pivotal in my journey. Not only just with this introduction to Craig, but also giving me speaking opportunities at conferences, because she set up panels and stuff. And I just couldn't say enough good things about Ashley Huffman. So shout out, happy birthday,
Ashley's amazing. She is just an incredible person.
Yep, she really is.
Yep.
Dude, you're an incredible person.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. You too, buddy.
Yeah. You know what? We just have incredible people in this community.
We do.
Like, we're lucky,
Very.
We're really lucky, because every guest we have on Between Realities is amazing.
Yep.
And everyone who tunes in and listens to the show is amazing.
Yep.
I have seen nothing but evidence of that. Our live chat popping off today. Thank you all so much for being here and being a part of this. Hussein X and Ryamu VR and Mickey Bear and Kensei Gaming and Red/Ace and my wife Brittany giving a hand for Craig, Mind Jive and Duggars K and Traveling Man and Red/Ace and Paradise Decay as well. Laszlo 216 and Classy Grandma and Spry Guy and Arcanian and ePilot 007 too. All of these amazing people.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Love it.
Michelle B got in here.
Oh, heck yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. Michelle B got in here. Reboot Imagine and Jose, right?
Yeah.
Swordsman VR was in the house earlier.
Oh, nice. Right on. Love Sin Studios.
Yeah. Test Your Might VR was in the house earlier too. Yeah, we've had Brandon VR here and getting things done. German Rifter, right? Happy birthday again out to him. Thank you all so much for being here. It was super fun, and it was cool to have Craig on. Craig and I talk every day, so it was great to have him on as a guest. And
it was rad, man. I completely meant it that I've truly enjoyed every interaction that I've gotten to have with Craig, in our travels. Just an awesome guy.
Yo, Desmoda. Really shout out Desmoda. What's up, dude? Good to see you, man. All right, so
cool.
What's even happening with us now?
So next week we will not be here because we will be traveling home from MetaConnect during this showtime. But after that, we will be back the following week with special guest Ryan DeLuca of Black Box VR, making amazing things happen with virtual reality and fitness. So it's going to be great. Looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, I've actually met Ryan and done an interview with him for my personal channel, like way back in the day. And Black Box VR is the real deal. Like, it is a fully integrated, dynamic, resistance-based machine that is built into a VR game, and it is really fun and really effective. Like, Ryan is like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, you look at the guy and he's just like a Greek god, like, it looks beautiful. So it's really, really dope, and I'm excited to learn more about what made that thing happen, because I was blown away by it. But yeah, we'll be in California next Friday. attending MetaConnect. Well, I don't know about attending, right? I don't have the official invite yet, but maybe I'll get it. And regardless, we're going to be there networking and connecting with people. So if you are in the area, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we can set something up. What else, man? Is that it?
That's it. I want to say, if you are a social VR fan, there has been some announcements happening around a program called Resonite. So I want to say to go ahead and keep an eye on social media about that social platform, because I think it's going to be really cool.
check out Resonite, and you'll see why we're excited. And then maybe next week we can
check it out on Twitter. And there are announcements happening today, and all kinds of things happening. So keep an eye on that. I'm very, very excited about it, and excited to see what happens next week with the Quest 3. This is going to be rad.
It is going to be rad. Yeah, there's going to be so much to talk about in 2 weeks now.
Yeah, when we get back, like the Quest 3 will be way more of a thing than it is right now, right? We'll know, I'm guessing we're going to know an actual official release date, and way more things about the headset, so we can kind of chat about that stuff.
But 2 weeks, bro?
I know, it's super sad. If there's a way, we would try, but I don't know, man.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Well, we'll miss you all.
Yes, we will.
Thanks again for listening. Shout out Upload. Shout out podcasts. I don't know. We love you guys. Have a great weekend. Join our Discord. We'll be playing games this weekend, and we would love to join you guys in those games. And thanks again to our today's guests, Craig from Context CI, and we will see you all in 2 long weeks with Ryan DeLuca from Black Box VR. Until then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.